Story number 1. The Frost of Forgotten Shoppers. As a grandmother now, living in the quiet suburbs, I often recount tales from my youth to my fascinated grandchildren. Among these, one story from 2011 stands out for its sheer eeriness and inexplicability: the tale of the vanishing shopper. Back then, I worked as a young manager in a quaint, old-fashioned department store in our town, popular for its festive decorations during the Christmas season. It was during one of these holiday seasons that the story began, with the appearance of a mysterious shopper who came to be known as the Vanishing Shopper. Every Christmas, this figure, shrouded in a heavy winter coat, would wander the aisles of our store. His face was always obscured, hidden beneath a frost-covered hat. The most unsettling part was his sudden vanishing. Whenever a staff member, including myself, tried to approach him, he would disappear into thin air, leaving behind a trail of frost, even inside the warm, heated store. The first time I encountered him, I was restocking shelves. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him wandering through the aisles. But when I turned to offer assistance, he was gone, with only a chill and a light dusting of frost left in his wake. The air around where he had been was inexplicably cold. Intrigued and unnerved, I, along with a group of young employees, decided to investigate this phenomenon. We were a team of determined youngsters, including Mark, a 25-year-old security guard, and Lily, a 22-year-old cashier. We decided to delve deeper into the history of the store and the mystery of this spectral shopper. Our investigation led us to old store records and newspaper archives, where we uncovered a chilling story. Decades ago, a man had perished in a blizzard on his way to our store for Christmas shopping. His body was found days later, frozen and clutching a list of Christmas gifts. As we pieced together the story, eerie events started occurring in the store. Items would inexplicably move from their shelves, frost patterns appeared on the windows, and several employees reported feeling the cold hand brush against them in empty aisles. The climax of our investigation was on a cold December night, when we decided to stay after hours. As we waited in the dimly lit store, the vanishing shopper appeared again, this time wandering towards the toy section. Mark bravely approached him, but as he got closer, the figure turned, revealing a frost-covered face, eyes filled with an eternal sorrow. Then, just as before, he vanished, leaving Mark standing in a sudden cold gust. Despite our attempts to understand or communicate with this apparition, the vanishing shopper remained a mystery. After that Christmas, he never appeared again. Today, as I recount this tale, it serves as a haunting reminder of the past that lingers in places and people. The vanishing shopper, a spectral presence forever searching for gifts he never got to give, remains a legend in our town, a chilling symbol of the festive season that, for some, never ends. Story number 2. The Echoes of Lost Laughter. In the twilight years of my life, nestled in the serenity of suburbia, I often recount tales of my younger days, stories that still send shivers down my spine. Among these, the events of 2012 at the old department store where I worked remain the most unnerving. The story, known amongst us as Whispers in the Toy Aisle, unfolded in a way that still haunts my dreams. Back then, I was a young manager, barely 30, overseeing a store renowned for its grand Christmas displays, especially in the toy aisle. It was during the festive season that workers, including myself, began experiencing something inexplicable. We would hear whispers and giggles in the toy aisle, with no one around. These sounds were particularly prominent around the section displaying old-fashioned Christmas toys. The first time I heard the whispers, I was closing up for the night. The soft, eerie giggles seemed to emanate from the shadows between the shelves. Chalking it up to my imagination, I hurried out, but the unsettling feeling lingered. Curiosity, coupled with concern, led me to investigate these strange occurrences. I was joined by 2 young employees, Ethan and Lily, both in their early 20s, who had also experienced these eerie events. we decided to delve into the history of the store and its collection of vintage toys. Our research led us to a forgotten tragedy. Decades ago, a fire had engulfed the original store building during the Christmas season. Among the losses were several children who had been entranced by the toy display. As we pieced together this sorrowful past, the paranormal activities intensified. The whispers grew louder, and the sounds of phantom footsteps echoed down the aisles. The most chilling encounter was when Lily saw the reflection of a child in a mirror among the toys, but when she turned around, no one was there. Determined to understand these phenomena, we set up a recording device overnight in the toy aisle. The next day, we were met with a chilling discovery. The recorder had captured the distinct sound of children playing, laughing, and a soft, sorrowful lullaby that seemed from another time. Our investigation reached its climax one winter night. As we reviewed more recordings, we suddenly heard the giggles and whispers in real time, surrounding us. A cold wind swept through the aisle, and the toys began to move on their own, as if being played with by invisible hands. Then, just as suddenly, it all stopped, leaving us in an eerie silence. Despite our efforts to find more answers, the paranormal activities ceased as abruptly as they had started. The old toys were eventually removed, and the whispers were never heard again. Now, as I recount these events, they serve as a stark reminder of the past that lingers in places of joy and sorrow. The whispers in the toy aisle, the echoes of lost laughter, remain a haunting testament to the history that shapes our present, a history that sometimes refuses to be forgotten. Story number 3. Chills of the Forgotten. As I sit in the quiet comfort of my suburban home, a grandmother now, I often find myself drifting back to the haunting memories of my past. Among these, the events of 2013 at the grocery store where I worked stand out with particular clarity. The story of the frozen aisle phantom is one that still sends chills down my spine, a tale of ghostly figures and inexplicable cold. Back in 2013, I was a young store manager, just shy of 30, overseeing a quaint grocery store in our small town. The store was an old establishment with creaky floors and a history that seemed to seep through its walls. It was in the frozen aisle that the strange occurrences began. It started with sightings of a ghostly figure, a silhouette that wandered the frozen aisle late at night. Employees, including myself, would catch glimpses of it out of the corner of our eyes. But whenever we turned to look directly, it vanished, leaving behind a trail of icy handprints on the glass doors of the freezers. Intrigued and unsettled, a group of us, including a young cashier named Emily and a stock boy named Tom, both in their early 20s, began an informal investigation. We delved into the store's past, uncovering a forgotten tragedy. Many years ago, a young woman had perished in a winter storm just outside the store, her body found frozen in the early hours of the morning. As we pieced together this tragic story, the paranormal activities intensified. The temperature in the frozen aisle would drop inexplicably, our breaths turning to mist even during the summer months. Products would fall off the shelves, and the icy handprints became more frequent, more defined, as if longing to communicate. The most chilling experience occurred one winter night. As we reviewed the store's security footage, we clearly saw the phantom wandering the aisle, stopping in front of the freezers, her hand reaching out to the glass. At that moment, the video flickered, and a piercing cold swept through the room. When the video resumed, she was gone, but the handprint remained, a silent testimony to her presence. Despite our efforts to understand and perhaps help this restless spirit, the phenomenon remained a mystery. After a year of these eerie occurrences, they stopped as suddenly as they had begun. The frozen aisle phantom was never seen again. Today, as I share this story with my grandchildren, their wide-eyed expressions mirror the fear and wonder I felt during those days. The events of 2013 in that old grocery store serve as a haunting reminder of the past that lingers in the present, a chilling echo of a life lost to the cold, her story imprinted in the frost of forgotten aisles. Story number 4. Echoes of a Forgotten Yuletide. As I sit in my cozy suburban home, now a grandmother, I often recount tales from my younger days, particularly those filled with mystery and unexplained phenomena. Among these, the events of 2014 in the department store where I worked as a manager stand out. It was the year we experienced the mysterious Christmas music, a series of events that still haunt my memories. The incident began in early December, during the bustling Christmas season. Our store, a popular spot for holiday shopping, was filled with the usual festive songs. However, something unusual caught my attention. A vintage Christmas song began to play over the store's speakers, a song that was not on any of our playlists. Its melody was hauntingly beautiful yet somber, unlike any Christmas tune I had ever heard. Intrigued and slightly unnerved, I enlisted the help of 2 young employees, Sarah and Jake, both in their 20s, to investigate this anomaly. We scoured our music system for any trace of this mysterious song but found nothing. It was as if the song was playing from another source, one we couldn't identify. The situation took a darker turn when customers and staff began reporting feelings of deep sadness and unease whenever the song played. Some even claimed to see fleeting shadows and figures in the corners of their eyes, disappearing as soon as they looked directly. Our investigation led us to delve into the history of the store and its surrounding area. We discovered that many years ago, a tragedy had occurred on the site during the Christmas season, a devastating fire that had claimed several lives. The most chilling revelation came when we found an old, damaged record in the store's basement. It was the same song that had been playing over the speakers. Upon playing the record, the air turned icy cold, and the sorrowful melody filled the room, more intense and mournful than ever. One night, determined to uncover more, Sarah, Jake, and I stayed late. As the song played, we heard soft, whispering voices accompanying the melody, singing words of loss and longing. It was then that we saw it, a ghostly procession of figures, transparent and sorrowful, dancing slowly to the music in the dimly lit aisles. The following morning, our investigation came to an abrupt halt. The record was gone, and the mysterious song never played again. We were left with no explanations, only theories and the haunting memory of the music and the spectral figures. Now, as I recount this story, it serves as a haunting reminder of the past that lingers in places of joy and celebration. The mysterious Christmas music of 2014 remains a ghostly echo of a forgotten Yuletide, a melody that resonated with the souls of those long gone, leaving behind a trail of haunting memories in its silent wake. Story number 5. Shadows of a Festive Founder. Now a grandmother, living a peaceful life in the suburbs, I find myself often reflecting on the strange and unexplainable experiences of my past. Among these, the events of 2015 at the department store where I worked are particularly haunting. That year, we encountered the ghost of Christmas past, a phenomenon that left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. The store, a local landmark, was known for its grand Christmas decorations, a tradition started by its founder, Mr. Edward Hargrove, a man known for his love of the holiday season. That Christmas, employees, many of whom were young and skeptical, began reporting sightings of a spectral figure resembling Mr. Hargrove. He was seen wandering the aisles, always after closing, a faint, sorrowful smile on his face. As a manager in my late 20s, I was intrigued yet skeptical of these stories. That was until I saw the figure myself. One late evening, as I was finalizing the accounts, I saw him in the reflection of my computer screen, standing in the doorway. Turning around, he was gone, but the air had turned colder, and the faint scent of old cologne lingered. Driven by curiosity and a sense of duty to my team, I, along with a few brave employees, including a young sales assistant named Lucy and a security guard named Michael, began delving into the history of Mr. Hargrove and the store. We discovered that Mr. Hargrove had passed away many years ago during the Christmas season, his life's work dedicated to bringing joy during the holidays. As we dug deeper, the occurrences became more frequent. The spectral figure was seen more often, always in the periphery, disappearing when directly approached. One chilling encounter was when Lucy claimed to have heard Mr. Hargrove's voice whispering an old Christmas carol, a song he was particularly fond of. The climax of our investigation occurred on Christmas Eve. The store was closed early for the holiday, and the few of us who stayed behind witnessed the most startling event. The ghost of Mr. Hargrove appeared before us in the main aisle, more vivid than ever, surrounded by a soft glow. He seemed to be searching for something, or perhaps someone, his eyes filled with a deep, melancholic longing. As suddenly as he appeared, he vanished, but not before leaving behind a small, beautifully wrapped gift on the floor. Inside was an old photograph of the store's first Christmas, with Mr. Hargrove proudly standing at the entrance. The events of 2015 remain unexplained, but they have left us with a sense of wonder and a touch of sadness. The ghost of Christmas past, as we came to call him, never appeared again after that year. His presence, a reminder of the store's legacy and the enduring spirit of its founder, lingers in our memories, a spectral symbol of a time gone by, forever etched in the shadows of our festive celebrations. Story number 6. The Silent Waltz of the Nutcracker. Now, as a grandmother nestled in the calm of suburbia, I often recount to my grandchildren the eerie tales of my younger years. Among these, the events of 2016 at the small boutique I managed stand out with a chilling clarity. That year, we experienced the unsettling enigma of the dancing nutcracker, a mystery that still haunts those who witnessed it. It was during the festive season that a peculiar nutcracker doll, a remnant of an old Christmas stock, became the center of our attention. The doll, adorned in bright red and green with a stern, wooden face, was initially placed as part of a holiday display. However, it wasn't long before we noticed something unnerving about it. The nutcracker seemed to move on its own. Each morning, we would find it in a different position, sometimes in different parts of the store. At first, we laughed it off, blaming forgetful employees or playful customers. But the movements became increasingly peculiar, and it wasn't long before a sense of unease began to set in. I, along with 2 young employees, Tom and Alice, both in their early 20s, started an informal investigation. We would position the nutcracker back in its original place every night, only to find it somewhere else the next morning. It was found in eerie, unexpected places, staring out from a dark shelf, perched atop a tall cabinet, or in the most chilling instance, positioned at the front door, as if waiting to greet or deter early morning customers. Our investigation took a darker turn when we decided to set up a camera overnight. The footage revealed nothing until one particular night when the camera picked up a faint, almost imperceptible movement. The nutcracker's arms seemed to twitch, a minute motion but undoubtedly real. The climax of our investigation occurred on a cold December night. Alice, having stayed late to rearrange the holiday display, claimed she heard faint music, reminiscent of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker Suite. As the music grew louder, she saw the nutcracker doll eerily waltzing by itself, its wooden joints moving smoothly, almost lifelike. Terrified, Alice ran out, leaving the dancing doll behind. The next morning, we found the nutcracker back in its original position. With one exception, its hand was raised, pointing towards the old storage room. Inside, we discovered a hidden compartment containing old letters and photographs of the store's original owner, who had been a passionate collector of nutcrackers. Despite our attempts to understand this phenomenon, the dancing nutcracker remained a mystery. After that Christmas, it disappeared from the store, leaving us with a lingering sense of wonder and unease. Now, as I share this story, It serves as a reminder of the mysteries that can lurk in the most innocuous places and objects. The Dancing Nutcracker of 2016 remains a spectral waltz in the memories of those who witnessed it, a silent dance of the past echoing through the stillness of the present. Story number 7. The Enigma of the Elusive Ornaments. Now a grandmother, residing in a peaceful suburban neighborhood, I often find myself lost in memories of my past, particularly those filled with mystery and inexplicable occurrences. Among these, the events of 2017 at the department store where I worked as a manager stand out with an eerie distinction. That year, we experienced the disappearing decorations, a series of events that unraveled the fabric of our understanding. It was during the bustling Christmas season that we first noticed something amiss. Ornaments and decorations, meticulously arranged the night before, would be found rearranged or missing entirely the next morning. Initially, we suspected mischievous staff or customers, but the occurrences escalated into something far more inexplicable. I, along with 2 young and curious employees, James and Emily, both in their mid-20s, decided to investigate this peculiar phenomenon. We started by setting up a discreet surveillance system, hoping to catch our playful culprit in the act. The first few nights revealed nothing unusual, but then, one frosty evening, our cameras captured something truly baffling. The footage showed ornaments floating off the shelves, as if carried by unseen hands and rearranging themselves. Even more startling, some decorations vanished from the frame, only to be found the next day in bizarre, impossible locations high up on ceilings, inside locked cabinets, or, in one case, on the roof of the store. Our investigation took a chilling turn when Emily reported hearing faint, distant laughter and whispers after hours, around the same time the decorations would begin their inexplicable dance. James, a skeptic, was forced to reconsider when he witnessed a string of lights unplugging themselves and slithering across the floor like a sentient being. The climax of our strange tale occurred on a quiet night, close to Christmas. We decided to stay overnight, hoping to witness and perhaps understand these phenomena. As the clock struck midnight, we watched in disbelief as the decorations began to move on their own. Then, the store filled with an ethereal glow, and for a brief moment, we saw figures, ghostly silhouettes of what appeared to be former employees and patrons, long gone, dancing among the aisles, adorning the store with the very decorations that had been moving on their own. The next day, the phenomenon ceased as suddenly as it had begun. The decorations remained in place, and the store returned to its usual festive cheer. Our investigation was left with more questions than answers. We never fully understood what caused the disappearing decorations of 2017. Some theorized a playful poltergeist, others believed the store was a nexus for residual energy from Christmases past. Now, as I recount these events to my wide-eyed grandchildren, the story serves as a reminder of the unseen world that exists alongside our own. The disappearing decorations remain a puzzling enigma, a testament to the mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows of our festive celebrations, in the quiet corners of our existence. Story number 8. Morse Code of the Mistletoe. In the quiet of my suburban home, as a grandmother, I often find myself reminiscing about the past, especially the unexplained occurrences that seem to linger in my memory. One such story from 2018 stands out, known among my former colleagues as the Holiday Lights Flicker. It was a series of events that unfolded at the retail store where I worked, forever changing our perception of the ordinary. The store, adorned with festive decorations, was a beacon of holiday cheer. However, that year, something unusual began to happen with the Christmas lights. They started flickering in a pattern that seemed intentional, almost like a coded message. At first, we thought it was a technical glitch, but the sequence of the flickering was too regular, too precise to be a mere coincidence. Intrigued and slightly unnerved, I, along with 2 young employees, Alex and Rachel, both in their early 20s, began to investigate. Alex, a tech-savvy guy with a keen interest in electronics, first suggested that the lights could be transmitting a message in Morse code. We spent hours documenting the sequences of flickers, translating them into dots and dashes. To our astonishment, the lights were indeed conveying a message. The translated text was cryptic, consisting of seemingly random words and phrases like help, cold, and lost. The situation escalated when Rachel reported hearing faint, melancholic music accompanying the flickering lights, a tone that was not part of our regular Christmas playlist. This discovery added another layer of mystery to our investigation. Our quest for answers led us to delve into the history of the building. We unearthed a tragic tale from many years ago. The store had been built on the site of an old theater, which had tragically burned down during a Christmas performance. Many lives were lost in the fire, including performers and audience members. The climax of our investigation occurred on a silent, snowy night. We decided to stay after hours, watching the lights. As the flickering began, a palpable sense of sorrow filled the air. The lights dimmed and brightened, illuminating a ghostly scene, spectral figures of what appeared to be performers and audience members from a bygone era, reenacting their final moments in a silent, sorrowful dance. The next day, and every day after, the lights ceased their mysterious flickering. The messages stopped, and the store returned to its usual, cheerful atmosphere. Despite our attempts to rationalize the events, the true nature of the flickering lights remained an enigma. Now, as I recount this tale, it serves as a poignant reminder of the echoes of the past that sometimes pierce through the veil of the present. The holiday lights flicker of 2018 remains a haunting yet somber memory, a reminder of forgotten souls reaching out through the flickering lights of Christmas, trying to tell their story, longing to be remembered. Story number 9. Whispers Among the Stockings. In the tranquility of my suburban home, as a doting grandmother, I often recount eerie tales from my past to my wide-eyed grandchildren. Among these tales, the events of 2019 at the department store where I worked stand out for their sheer otherworldliness. It was during this time that we encountered the stocking stalker, an entity whose presence turned festive cheer into chilling fear. That year, as the Christmas season approached, we set up a grand display of stockings, each one elaborately decorated. However, not long after the display was complete, strange occurrences began. Staff members, particularly the younger ones, reported feeling sudden, unexplainable cold breezes near the stockings. The sensation was always accompanied by an unnerving feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes were lurking just beyond our line of sight. Driven by both concern and curiosity, I, along with 2 young employees, Nathan and Sophie, decided to investigate these unusual happenings. Nathan, a 28-year-old with a skeptical outlook, and Sophie, a 24-year-old with a keen interest in paranormal phenomena, were just as intrigued as I was. Our investigation first led us to examine the store's HVAC system, suspecting a logical explanation for the cold drafts. However, the system was functioning perfectly, offering no clues to the mystery. The sensation of being watched grew stronger each day, particularly after closing hours when the store was dimly lit and silent. One night, as we reviewed the store's security footage, we noticed something truly chilling. The stockings seemed to move ever so slightly on their own, as if being gently touched by invisible hands. At the same time, a shadowy figure briefly appeared and then vanished, its form barely discernible among the Christmas decorations. Digging deeper, we learned about the store's history and a tragic event from many years ago. The store had been built on the site of an old home where a family tragedy had occurred one Christmas Eve, a fire that claimed several lives. The climax of our investigation occurred on a cold December night. Armed with a camera and a digital recorder, we decided to stay after hours. As midnight approached, the temperature around the stockings dropped significantly. Our breaths turned to mist in the air, and the sensation of being watched intensified. Then, in a barely audible whisper, we heard our names being called. The camera captured a fleeting image of a shadowy figure, its form distorted and its intentions unclear. The following morning, the Christmas stockings were found scattered across the floor, as if discarded in haste by unseen hands. After that night, the chilling occurrences ceased, and the feeling of being watched disappeared. Now, as I recount this tale, it serves as a somber reminder of the past's lingering presence, a shadowy echo in the festive corners of our lives. The stocking stalker of 2019 remains an unresolved enigma, a ghostly entity whose story is etched in the cold breezes and whispered secrets of a Christmas long gone. Story number 10. Echoes in the Aisles. Now, as a grandmother living in the quiet suburbs, I often reflect on my past, particularly the enigmatic events of 2020 at the retail store where I worked. That year, as the world grappled with its own horrors, we encountered our own in the form of the Midnight Carolers, a phenomenon that would forever change my perception of the holiday season. In the winter of 2020, amidst the holiday rush, a series of unsettling incidents began to occur in our store. It started with faint, distant singing, heard only at night when the store was closed and the aisles empty. The eerie melodies of Christmas carols would echo through the dark, silent store, sung by voices that were chillingly harmonious yet ethereal, as if carried on the wind from another time. Intrigued and unnerved, I, along with two younger employees, Daniel and Sarah, both in their 20s, embarked on an investigation. Daniel, a stoic night shift manager, and Sarah, an inquisitive sales assistant, had both heard the ghostly chorus and were equally determined to uncover the truth. Our first course of action was to review the store's security footage, but it revealed nothing. The cameras recorded only the empty, quiet aisles, even as the singing could be heard on the audio playback. This baffling discrepancy only deepened the mystery. As we delved deeper, we discovered an old newspaper clipping about a group of carolers who had tragically perished in a winter storm decades ago, not far from where the store now stood. They had been on their way to perform at a Christmas event. The situation escalated one frigid December night when we decided to stay in the store after hours. As the clock struck midnight, the singing began, clearer and more haunting than ever. It seemed to emanate from all around us, a spectral serenade that resonated with both beauty and sorrow. Then, in a moment that still sends shivers down my spine, the temperature dropped dramatically. Our breaths turned to mist, and the festive decorations began to sway gently, as if stirred by an unseen presence. In the dim light, we could almost discern shadowy figures moving in rhythm with the music, their outlines flickering like candle flames. After that night, the singing ceased, and the store returned to its normal, mundane rhythm. Our investigation was left with more questions than answers. We never truly understood who the Midnight Carolers were or why they chose to grace our store with their ghostly melodies. Now, as I recount this story, it serves as a haunting reminder of the past's ability to resonate through time. The Midnight Carolers of 2020 remain a chilling, yet poignant memory, a ghostly echo of a bygone era that still lingers in the silent, wintry nights of the present.